Revelation 1573. From the 18th of August 1940. Race. Interior. So many questions are raised in a time of spiritual emancipation, and always, these questions concern a still little explored area, the inner life of the individual human being. For it is clear that the inner life of every human being is different, and now one tries to find an explanation for it. People lack all knowledge. With a conviction that does not tolerate any contradiction, they proceed to relate the inner form of man to the structure of the body. They therefore assume that a certain race of men must also have the same feeling, that the inner life is therefore racially conditioned. And this view gives rise to all kinds of questions. The theory of race, in which all theories are founded today, is only justified insofar as it illuminates the outer appearances, the appearance, the nature, that a certain race also shows certain outer characteristics. But race never has any influence on the inner feeling of man, which is the only decisive factor in spiritual matters. And therefore just the most different races have a certain similarity in their feeling life. Therefore one assumes now that the race has influence on the inner life. And this is erroneous. For the life of feeling, which has its origin in the soul, is formed by every human being himself. If the same life of feeling had been put into the same races by the Creator, the different tribes of peoples would have to be correspondingly of the same kind. Then every way of acting would be justified with the race of man and therefore would be judged also, accordingly. And consequently God would always have prescribed to the different people the formation of their inner life, and then the people could not be different than it would be assigned to them by God Himself through the affiliation to a certain race. A higher development would therefore be out of the question, and just as little the people could be called to account. But they are not granted the stay on earth in order to make themselves equal outwardly just by their race, but the inner life must be cultivated by every human being, no matter to which race he belongs, and therefore he himself must contribute everything to develop himself spiritually higher. Everything external of the people will also refer only to the life on earth, crisp. These people connected by race will keep all peculiarities, no matter whether the inner attitude is for or against God. Only in purely worldly questions a correspondence of thoughts can be found. In spiritual questions, however, the thinking of every single human being will be different and the attitude towards God will be so fundamentally different that the affiliation to a certain race can never lead to the conclusion that man is forced to think according to his race. And this now puts right an erroneous view which has been too little examined up to now. Wrong conclusions have been drawn, even if apparently the outer design of men is quite similar. The inner life goes completely isolated. In order to form this according to the divine will, man must occupy himself spiritually. He cannot bring his peculiarity into connection with his spiritual task. He must wrestle in exactly the same way as man belonging to another race, if he wants to bring his soul into the condition that God finds pleasure in it and he receives it into his kingdom. Amen.